Rain hammered against the roof of the small-town auto shop, the kind of relentless storm that soaked through clothes and spirits alike. Mia Reynolds stood just inside the doorway, shivering slightly, clutching a broken umbrella in one hand and a bouquet of flowers in the other. Her car had sputtered, coughed, and died a few miles from the highway, right in front of this garage. It felt like the world was laughing at her. She wasn't supposed to go to her ex-boyfriend's engagement party. She had promised herself she wouldn't. But when the invitation showed up, mocking her in gold lettering, she couldn't resist. She needed to prove, to herself more than anyone, that she was fine. That she'd moved on. But now, with her car dead and her hair dripping, she looked like anything but fine. Inside, a tall man in a gray t-shirt streaked with grease was bent over an engine. The muscles in his arms flexed as he tightened a bolt, completely focused. When he finally looked up, his eyes, deep brown and calm, met hers. "Car trouble?" he asked, his voice low, steady. "Yeah," Mia said, trying to sound casual. "It just stopped on the highway. Let me take a look." He stepped outside with her, rain beating on his broad shoulders. In less than a minute, he diagnosed the issue, something about the alternator and the battery. Mia barely heard him. She was staring at his face, the faint stubble on his jaw, the quiet confidence in his movements. "How long would it take to fix?" she asked. "An hour, maybe 2. She groaned. "Of course. The one day I actually need to be somewhere." He gave her a curious look. "Important event, sort of," she said, hesitating. Then, before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out. "It's my ex's engagement party. I wasn't going to go, but now I feel like I have to. I don't want to show up alone." He folded his arms. "So you're going?" She sighed. "I don't know. Maybe. Unless I can think of a good reason not to." Then, like lightning, an idea struck. Her heart pounded as she looked at him. This stranger who somehow made her feel safe in a way she hadn't in months. "Okay, this is going to sound insane," she blurted out, "but would you pretend to be my boyfriend? Just for a day?" The man blinked. Then a slow, amused smile spread across his face. "You're serious?" "Completely," she said, cheeks burning. "Just to make it through the night. I'll pay you, of course." He leaned back against the counter, still smiling. "You want to hire your mechanic to fake date you in front of your ex?" "When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous," she muttered. He chuckled. "Ridiculous, maybe, but not impossible." "Wait. You'd actually do it?" she asked, eyes widening. He looked at her thoughtfully. "You seem like you've had a rough day. And honestly, I could use a change of pace. So yeah, I'll do it." Her mouth fell open. "Just like that. On one condition," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "If we're doing this, I'm driving. And we're doing it properly." Mia agreed, half in disbelief. An hour later, when he emerged from the back room, her breath caught. Gone were the grease-stained clothes. In their place, a dark navy suit, crisp white shirt, and a confidence that filled the room. He looked nothing like the man she'd met 2 hours ago. He looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not a garage. "You clean up well," she whispered. He smirked, offering his arm. "And you, Miss Reynolds, are about to make quite an entrance." The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers and laughter, but Mia barely noticed any of it. All she could feel was Ethan's hand resting gently on her waist, grounding her, steadying her heartbeat that had gone completely rogue. Her ex, Daniel, stood frozen across the room, holding his fiancée's hand a little too tightly. His eyes flicked from Mia's elegant dress to the tall man beside her, and she could practically see the questions forming in his head. "Mia," Daniel greeted stiffly when they finally crossed paths. "I didn't think you'd come." Mia smiled sweetly. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." She turned to Ethan, her voice light. "Daniel, this is Ethan, my boyfriend." Ethan extended his hand with calm authority. "Nice to meet you." Daniel hesitated before shaking it, clearly taken aback by the man's poise. "And what do you do, Ethan?" he asked, the question sharp, almost taunting. "Cars," Ethan said simply, eyes glinting. "I fix them." Daniel's smirk was small but smug. "Ah, a mechanic. How practical." Mia's stomach twisted, but Ethan didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled, a slow, confident curve of his lips that somehow made the insult bounce right off him. "Well," he replied smoothly, "someone's got to keep things running while others are busy breaking them." Mia almost choked on her champagne. Daniel's fiancé giggled behind her hand. As the evening went on, Ethan played the role to perfection. He held her chair, whispered little jokes, and looked at her like she was the only person in the room. People kept glancing their way, intrigued by the mysterious couple that no one had seen before. Between dances and laughter, Mia found herself forgetting it was all pretend. His hand fit perfectly in hers, his gaze lingered longer than necessary, and when he smiled at her, her heart melted just a little more each time. When the party finally ended, they stepped out into the quiet night. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening under soft lamplight. "Well," Mia said, exhaling. "That was something." Ethan chuckled. "You handled yourself perfectly. So did you. Especially when Daniel called you a mechanic," she said, half teasing. "You didn't even blink." He looked at her, amusement flickering in his eyes. "That's because it wasn't exactly a lie." She frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" He hesitated for a second, then said casually, "I own Cole Motors. The company that built the car you drive." Mia stopped walking. "Wait, what?" Ethan turned to face her, hands in his pockets. "Yeah, CEO, technically. But sometimes I visit my workshops and help out. Keeps me connected to what we build. That's where you found me today." She blinked at him, speechless. The confident posture, the quiet charisma, it all made sense now. "So, I asked a millionaire CEO to pretend to be my boyfriend for a day," she said in disbelief. He grinned. "Technically, you asked a mechanic. The rest was just a costume change." They both laughed, the tension melting into something softer, warmer. Then Ethan took a small step closer. "So, now that your mission's accomplished, should we call it even?" Mia hesitated. Her heart said no, but her lips faltered. "I mean, that's what we agreed on." He looked at her for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "You know, I don't usually do things halfway." "What do you mean?" she whispered. He reached out and gently brushed a raindrop from her cheek. "We could stop pretending. Or," his gaze softened, "we could see what happens if we don't." The air between them shimmered with unspoken words. Mia met his eyes, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe. Just one more day." He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. "One more day, and maybe another after that." As he leaned in, the faint scent of motor oil and cologne mixed in the cool night air. For the first time in a long time, Mia's heart didn't ache for what she'd lost, it fluttered for what she might have just found. When they arrived at the glittering hotel ballroom, all eyes turned toward them. Her ex froze mid-laugh when he saw her. The mechanic wrapped an arm around her waist, leaned close, and whispered in her ear. "Relax. Boyfriends don't look nervous." And for the first time that night, she smiled, not for show, but because something about being beside him felt real.